The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with voices from every corner of the galaxy. Leaders and ambassadors sat on floating platforms, each decorated with the symbols of their homeworlds. Bright lights shimmered on the polished floor, and the air hummed with quiet tension. Captain Daniel Reed, a human diplomat and former soldier, walked into the hall with careful steps. His uniform was neat, and his face showed both respect and confidence. It had been years since he had seen such a gathering. Humans were new members of the council, and some aliens still looked at them with suspicion. As Daniel took his seat, he noticed the large banners of the Siren, a mysterious and powerful alien race. Their queen, Surya, was known for her wisdom and strength, but also for her silence. She rarely left her world, and even more rarely spoke in public. Today, everyone could sense something unusual was about to happen. A council speaker, an old being with silver skin and 4 gentle eyes, began the meeting. "We gather here in hopes of peace," the speaker said, voice echoing. "Today, Queen Surya of the Siren has made a special request. She wishes to speak to a human, by name." A quiet wave went through the hall. No one expected the Siren Queen to address a human directly. Daniel felt all eyes on him. Queen Surya stood up. Her appearance was stunning, tall and graceful, with deep blue skin that sparkled under the lights and golden eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. Her voice was clear and calm. "I request the presence of Captain Daniel Reed." Daniel stood, heart pounding. He walked to the center of the hall. The Queen's eyes met his, searching his face for recognition. "Do you remember me, human?" she asked, her voice soft but strong. "Many years ago, during the Battle of Orcs Prime, you saved my life. You did not know who I was, but you carried me from the flames. Today, I honor that moment." The council fell silent. Daniel tried to remember. Flashes of war, smoke, and fear came to him. He recalled dragging a wounded Siren soldier to safety, not knowing the alien's name or rank. Queen Surya continued, "On my world, a life dead is sacred. I owe you a favor, Captain Reed, and today I wish to repay it." Gasps and whispers filled the hall. Some council members seemed angry or afraid. A few humans smiled, proud of Daniel's actions. Daniel nodded, still surprised. "Your Majesty, I remember the battle. I only did what was right." Surya smiled gently. "Sometimes what is right changes the fate of many." The council speaker called for order. The meeting was not only about politics now. It was about honor, memory, and a connection between two worlds, made by a simple act of kindness, long ago. After the surprising moment in the Galactic Council Hall, Queen Surya stood tall and spoke to everyone gathered. Her voice was calm, but filled with meaning. "Many years ago," she began, "I was just a warrior fighting to save my people. During the Battle of Orcs Prime, my life was in grave danger. If not for the brave actions of a human soldier, I would have died." She looked at Daniel with respect. "Captain Daniel Reed risked everything to carry me away from the fire and death. He saved me without knowing who I was." Daniel remembered the day clearly now. The battle was fierce, and many soldiers were hurt or lost. He had seen the alien, wounded and alone, trapped in burning rubble. Without thinking twice, he had pulled her out, carrying her to safety even as enemies fired around them. The room was quiet as Surya spoke about the importance of honor in her culture. "On Siren, life debts are sacred. To save a life is to bind two souls together. I owe Captain Reed a great debt." She paused, her golden eyes shining. "Today, I come to ask for his help. There are dangers in the galaxy, old enemies who seek to bring war again. I ask Captain Reed to stand with me, to help protect peace." Some council members whispered. Not everyone trusted humans. Some feared that this alliance could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Daniel stood steady and replied, "Your Majesty, I am honored by your words. I only did what anyone should do, to help another in need. I will stand with you to keep peace." The queen nodded. "Good. Together, we may face the coming storms." After the council meeting, many aliens approached Daniel with mixed feelings. Some praised his courage, others watched him with doubt. Daniel knew the journey ahead would be difficult. Trust was fragile between their species, but he also felt hope. A simple act of kindness had grown into a powerful bond. Later, in private, Queen Soraya spoke to Daniel again. "You changed my life, human. I was lost in darkness that day. You brought me back. Now, I offer you my trust and friendship." Daniel smiled, feeling the weight of her words. "I never thought one day I would stand beside a queen. But I am ready." Suria's advisors warned her about the risks of trusting a human. "Our enemies will not wait," one said. "They will try to break this alliance." The queen looked out of her palace window toward the stars. "Let them come. We will face them as one." The story of Daniel and Suraya was just beginning. A past act of bravery was now a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Together, they would face threats old and new, fighting for peace in a universe full of danger. The days after the Galactic Council meeting were busy and tense. Captain Daniel Reed and Queen Suraya met often to discuss the future. The weight of the life debt between them was more than just words. It was a promise to protect and support each other. Suraya invited Daniel to visit her homeworld, Seren. It was a beautiful planet with blue forests and shining cities built on cliffs. But beneath its beauty was the memory of wars long past and enemies waiting for a chance to strike again. As Daniel stepped off the ship, he was greeted by the Queen's closest advisors. They watched him carefully, some with respect, others with doubt. The history between humans and Seren was complicated. Many in Soraya's court did not believe that humans could be trusted. Daniel felt the eyes of the court on him, but he stood tall. "I am here to help," he said simply. Queen Soraya smiled. "Your courage then saved my life. Now your courage may save many." She led him through the grand halls of her palace. On the walls, paintings showed great battles and heroes. One painting showed a young Seren warrior fighting alone against a giant enemy. "That was me," Suraya said softly. "And you were the stranger who saved me." Daniel nodded. "I remember that day. You fought bravely." The queen looked serious. "Because of you, I live. Because of you, I am queen. My people believe that debts like these are sacred. I owe you more than I can say." That night, Daniel sat in the palace gardens. The stars above were bright and clear. He thought about the battle so long ago. He had only done what he thought was right, help someone in danger. But now, that act had brought him to the center of a galactic alliance. Suddenly, the peaceful night was broken by urgent news. Scouts reported strange movements near Seren's borders. Unknown ships were gathering. The Queen's enemies were preparing. Suraya met Daniel in the war room. "The old threats return," she said. "Our enemies fear this bond between us. They want to break it." Daniel frowned. "Then we must be ready." Over the next days, Daniel helped Suraya strengthen her defenses. He shared human battle tactics and strategies. The Queen's soldiers trained harder than ever, inspired by the humans' presence. At the same time, Daniel met with other alien leaders in the council. Many watched him with suspicion, warning him to be careful. "Not all will welcome this alliance," they said. But Daniel felt the truth of Soraya's words. The life debt between them was real. It was not just a promise. It was a bond that could bring peace or cause war. He looked at the stars and thought, one life saved can change the fate of many. The calm of Seren's bright skies hid a brewing storm. Across the galaxy, word spread of the alliance between Queen Soraya and the human, Daniel Reed. Some saw hope in this new friendship. Others saw danger. Far away, in dark warships cloaked in shadow, rival alien factions gathered. Their leaders wore cold, hard faces. They whispered of threats and power lost. "The humans grow too strong," said Commander Jarek, leader of the Xenar clan. Their courage is unmatched, and now they stand with the Siren Queen. This cannot be allowed. His second-in-command nodded. We must act before this bond becomes too strong. If we strike quickly, we can destroy their hope. Back on Siren, Daniel and Surya were unaware of the growing danger. They focused on building trust and preparing defenses. The Queen introduced Daniel to her council, a group of wise but cautious advisors. One advisor, Master Veril, spoke quietly to Surya. Your Majesty, the alliance with humans is a great risk. Many factions will see it as a threat. We must be vigilant. Surya agreed but stood firm. I trust Daniel. He saved my life once. We will face any enemy together. Daniel trained with the Siren warriors, sharing human battle skills and learning their unique ways. The bond between him and the soldiers grew stronger each day. But shadows moved in the galaxy's edges. Saboteurs began slipping into Siren's cities, gathering information and spreading fear. Strange accidents happened. Power outages, communication failures, and mysterious disappearances. One night, Daniel caught a shadow moving near the palace. He followed silently and saw figures exchanging secret messages. They noticed him and fled, leaving behind clues of a larger plot. Daniel reported to Surya immediately. Our enemies are closer than we thought. They want to break us. Surya's face darkened. Then we must act before they strike. The Queen called a secret meeting with her trusted allies. We will root out these traitors and protect our people. Daniel, your courage and wisdom will lead us. Daniel nodded, ready for the challenge. Together, they planned to use both Siren's advanced technology and human strategy to find the enemy spies. As they prepared, the Council received troubling news. Reports came of alien ships gathering near Siren's borders, ready to attack. The threat was real and growing. Daniel looked at Surya. This is bigger than just us. The whole galaxy may face war again. Surya took his hand firmly. Then we will stand together. Because of you, I live. Because of you, my people have hope. In that moment, the promise of a life saved grew into the promise of a future shared. The battle to protect peace was just beginning. Captain Daniel Reed stood on the balcony of Queen Surya's palace, staring out at the glowing cities of Siren below. The stars twinkled above, but his mind was filled with memories. Memories of a time long ago, during the Battle of Orcs Prime. The war had been brutal. Smoke and fire had filled the air. Daniel remembered the fear and chaos around him. He had been a young soldier then, fighting not just for victory, but for survival. Suddenly, in the middle of the burning battlefield, he had found a wounded alien, a female warrior with blue skin and golden eyes, trapped beneath debris. Without hesitation, Daniel had lifted her up and carried her to safety, ignoring the dangers around them. Back then, he had no idea who she was. Now, as he stood beside Surya, the alien queen he had saved, those memories felt alive again. Surya approached quietly and stood next to him. You seem lost in thought, she said softly. Daniel turned to her. It's hard to forget that day. I never expected to meet you again, let alone here, on your world. She smiled gently. That day changed both our lives. Because of you, I lived to become queen. And because of you, I see hope for peace. Daniel nodded. I only did what any person should do, help another in danger. Surya's expression grew serious. But not everyone sees it that way. There are those who fear humans and doubt your loyalty. Daniel clenched his fists. I know, but I will prove them wrong. That night, Daniel could not sleep. The past and present seemed tangled together. He thought about the sacrifices made during the war and the promise he now carried. Suddenly, a message arrived. It was from Surya's intelligence officers. New threats had been detected near the borders of Siren, enemy forces preparing to strike. Daniel met Surya in the command room. Our enemies are growing bolder. They want to break our alliance before it can grow stronger. Surya's eyes flashed with determination. Then we must prepare. We cannot let fear win. As they worked together, Daniel shared stories of human resilience and strength. Soraya told him about her people's history, how they had survived wars, betrayal, and loss. Their bond deepened, built not only on a life debt, but on mutual respect and trust. But the shadows of the past were not done with them. A spy had infiltrated Soraya's court. The traitor whispered lies and sowed distrust between allies. One evening, Daniel overheard a secret conversation. The spy planned to attack during the upcoming festival, a time when Seren celebrated peace and unity. Daniel rushed to warn Soraya. We must act quickly. The spy wants to use the festival to strike. Soraya nodded, her face set with resolve. Then we will turn their plan against them. This festival will show our enemies that we are united. Together, they prepared to face the danger ahead. The past had shaped their present, but the future was theirs to fight for. Side by side, the festival of peace had begun on Seren. Bright lanterns floated in the sky, and music filled the air. Citizens from many worlds gathered to celebrate hope and friendship. But beneath the joy, tension ran deep. Captain Daniel Reed and Queen Soraya moved through the crowds, watching carefully. The warning about a spy was heavy on their minds. Every face seemed a possible threat. Soraya's advisors whispered warnings. We must protect the queen, they said. The enemy will try to strike here. Daniel nodded. We cannot let fear control us, but we must be ready. Suddenly, an explosion shook the palace grounds. Panic spread like wildfire. Some guests screamed and ran. The festival lights flickered and dimmed. Daniel and Soraya moved quickly to the source. They found a group of attackers trying to escape. The queen's guards surrounded them, but the fight was fierce. In the chaos, Daniel saw the spy, a familiar face among the attackers. The spy locked eyes with Daniel and flowed into the crowded streets. Without hesitation, Daniel gave chase. The narrow alleys twisted and turned, but Daniel's training kept him focused. He caught up just as the spy tried to board a fast ship. Daniel grabbed the spy's arm. You won't get away. The spy sneered. You don't understand. We fight to keep the galaxy in chaos. Peace is weakness. Daniel shook his head. Peace is strength. It is why I stand with Queen Soraya. The spy struggled, but Daniel held firm until the guards arrived. Back at the palace, Soraya looked at Daniel with gratitude. You saved the day, Daniel. You proved that even in danger, trust and courage win. The council received news of the attack quickly. Some factions condemned the violence, while others called for stronger actions against the enemies of peace. Daniel and Soraya used the moment to send a message across the galaxy. Our bond will not break. Together, we stand stronger. As the festival resumed, the people cheered louder than before. Their hope was renewed by the courage of two leaders from very different worlds. In the days that followed, Daniel and Soraya worked to strengthen their alliance. They shared knowledge, trained soldiers, and planned strategies. But Daniel knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and old enemies still lurked in shadows. One evening, as they looked at the stars from the palace balcony, Soraya spoke quietly. I never thought I would trust a human. Yet here we are. Daniel smiled. Sometimes, the strongest alliances are the most unlikely. They stood side by side, ready to face whatever the future held, because a life saved years ago had grown into a friendship that could change the fate of many worlds. The day of Queen Soraya's coronation arrived. The grand palace sparkled with decorations, and dignitaries from across the galaxy gathered to witness the event. Captain Daniel Reed stood proudly beside Soraya, knowing how far they had come together. The ceremony began with music and speeches. Soraya wore her royal robes, glowing with pride and grace. As the crown was placed on her head, the crowd cheered loudly. But beneath the celebration, danger waited. Suddenly, alarms blared through the palace. Security forces rushed through the halls, searching for the source of the disturbance. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Something is wrong. Moments later, an official stepped forward, voice shaking. "There is evidence that Captain Daniel Reed has been involved in a plot against the crown." Gasps echoed through the hall. Daniel felt the weight of shock and disbelief. Suria's face tightened, refusing to believe the accusation. "This is false," she declared. "Daniel has stood by me through every danger. I will not allow lies to tear us apart." But many in the court whispered doubts. Some powerful nobles had long disliked the human's presence, fearing he had too much influence. Daniel was taken to a secure chamber for questioning. Though he faced false accusations, he remained calm, knowing the truth was on his side. Meanwhile, Suria began her own investigation. She summoned her most trusted allies to uncover who had betrayed them. Through careful work, Suraya and her team discovered that a rival faction had planted false evidence. They wanted to break the alliance between humans and Siren and reignite old conflicts. With proof in hand, Surya called a public meeting. "The accusations against Captain Reed were a lie," she announced firmly. "We will not be divided by those who wish to see us fall." The crowd murmured, but many now stood with the Queen and Daniel. Daniel was released, and he returned to the coronation hall to stand beside Suraya once more. The ceremony continued, stronger than before. The Queen and the human had faced betrayal, but their bond was unbroken. Later, Daniel spoke quietly to Suraya. "This was a test. We showed that trust is stronger than lies." Surya smiled. "And together, we will protect our people from those who seek to harm us." As the stars shone above Siren, the future looked brighter. The friendship born from a life saved long ago had overcome its greatest challenge yet. After the coronation, a new threat emerged from the shadows. Reports came from across the galaxy about a secret weapon, powerful enough to destroy entire planets. The news alarmed Queen Suraya and Captain Daniel Reed. In the war room of the palace, Surya spread out star maps and intelligence reports. "This weapon could end peace forever," she said, her voice serious. "We must find it before it falls into the wrong hands." Daniel nodded. "We need to act fast. If our enemies get this weapon, they could start a war unlike any before." Together, they planned a mission to locate and destroy the weapon. Their best spies and scouts were sent to gather information, while Daniel and Surya prepared their forces. The search led them to a remote system hidden behind a gas giant. There, in a secret base carved into an asteroid, the weapon was being built. Surya and Daniel knew they had to act carefully. A direct attack could trigger disaster. They sent a small team of elite soldiers, including Daniel himself, to infiltrate the base. Moving silently through dark tunnels, they faced traps and guards. Inside the heart of the base, they found the weapon, a massive machine glowing with dangerous energy. It was designed to fire a beam that could wipe out whole worlds. Daniel carefully planted explosives while Surya guarded the entrance. Time was running out. Suddenly, alarms blared. Enemy soldiers rushed in. A fierce battle broke out. Daniel fought bravely, using skills learned from years of war. Suraya's warriors held the enemy back, protecting their friend. With a final explosion, the weapon was destroyed. The base began to collapse. The team escaped just in time, blasting out into space as the asteroid shattered behind them. Back on Siren, the council celebrated their victory, but Suraya and Daniel knew the fight was not over. The enemy who built the weapon was still out there, hidden and dangerous. Daniel looked at the Queen. "This shows why we must stand together. Alone, we are weak. Together, we are strong." Surya smiled. "Our bond is the galaxy's hope." They sent a message across the stars, warning others of the threat and calling for unity. The story of a life saved in battle had grown into a fight for peace across the galaxy. The galaxy held its breath. Word had spread that the secret weapon was destroyed, but the enemy was not finished. Their forces gathered near the border of Siren, ready to strike a final blow. Captain Daniel Reed and Queen Suraya stood before their allies in the Great Hall. The tension was thick, but their voices were strong. "We must unite," Soraya declared. "Our enemies want to break us, but together, we will protect our homes." Daniel nodded. "We fight not for war, but for peace and survival." Armies from many worlds assembled. Ships filled the skies, ready to defend. Soldiers trained side by side, sharing knowledge and skills. As the enemy fleet approached, Daniel and Syria led their forces in battle. The space around Siren lit up with laser fire and explosions. The clash was fierce and brutal. Daniel piloted his fighter with skill, coordinating attacks and protecting the Queen's ships. Soraya commanded her fleet with wisdom and courage. On the planet below, ground forces fought enemies trying to invade cities. The alliance showed its strength as humans and Siren soldiers worked together flawlessly. During a critical moment, the enemy deployed a powerful weapon to break their lines. Daniel saw the danger and made a daring move. He led a small squadron to destroy the weapon before it could fire. The mission was dangerous, but Daniel's team succeeded. The weapon exploded in a bright flash, turning the tide of battle. With their enemy weakened, Soraya's fleet pushed forward. One by one, enemy ships surrendered or fled. The battle ended with a victory for peace. As silence returned to the skies, Daniel and Soraya stood together, looking out over their world. "This victory is ours," Soraya said, her voice proud, "because we stood united." Daniel smiled. "A life saved long ago has changed the fate of many." The council held a ceremony to honor the heroes. Daniel and Soraya were praised not just for their bravery, but for building a bond that brought many species together. The galaxy began to heal, with new friendships forming and old wounds mending. Daniel and Soraya knew that challenges would come again, but they also knew one truth: united, they could face anything. The stars shone brightly over the peaceful planet of Siren. After the great battle, calm had returned. The galaxy was changing. Old fears were fading, replaced by hope. Captain Daniel Reed and Queen Soraya stood together on the palace balcony. The wind gently blew, carrying the scent of blue flowers from the gardens below. Soraya looked at Daniel with a smile. "Do you remember the day we first met, when you saved my life on that burning battlefield?" Daniel nodded. "I remember. I never thought that moment would lead to all of this." The crowd below gathered for a special ceremony. Leaders from many worlds came to honor the human who had saved their queen and helped bring peace to the galaxy. Soraya stepped forward and spoke to the crowd. This man, Daniel Reed, showed kindness and courage when it mattered most. A single act of bravery can change the fate of many. Because of him, our worlds are united. The people cheered, their voices rising in joy and gratitude. Daniel felt proud but humble. "I only did what any person should do, to help another in need. Together, we made this possible." After the ceremony, Daniel and Soraya met with the Galactic Council. Plans were made to build stronger friendships between species. Trade, culture, and knowledge would flow freely. Wars would be replaced by dialogue. Soraya turned to Daniel. "This is only the beginning. We must keep working to make the galaxy a better place." Daniel smiled. "With you as an ally, I believe we can." As the days passed, new ambassadors arrived on Siren. Humans and Siren worked side by side, sharing ideas and hopes. Children from different worlds played together in the gardens, learning each other's languages and stories. Daniel often walked those gardens, thinking about how one act, saving a life, had grown into a future filled with promise. The galaxy was no longer a place of fear and war. It was a place where kindness could bloom. And so, the story of Daniel Reed and Queen Soraya became a legend, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope shines bright.